All right, so here I am in Train 01, and our users, in trainings in the past, like PowerSchool 101, have had access. Some of you on this very call have had access to this train environment just to kind of play around. So uh, do reach out to us if you want access to get in here and kind of try some things out, or if you see for example, what we're talking about today, a stored search that you're really curious how that was set up and you just want to dig in and see how it's set up in our train environment. You can request access to our train environment via a case, put in a case to us, and we can get you set up because we have some usernames and passwords. And then we usually re-scramble and update the data periodically, like once a quarter or so we can pull in new data. For example, probably in late October, we'll re-scramble this data so that we have Q1 grades after grades are stored. So, all right, so let's get started. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off my video so we can focus on the screen here. And what we're going to be focusing on is stored searches and stored selections. Two things in PowerSchool that sound very similar, and there's similarities between the two, but there are some primary differences. So I'm going to start with stored searches. And so these are going to be reusable search criteria to find student groups of students based on field values. So the searches that we do from the start page on field values, whether it be grade level or gender, or whether a student has a disability or has gifted education status, or has something on them such as a certain type of alert. They're on an IEP. They're involved in certain activities. Those are all ways that we identify groups of students, and those are just some examples of ways that we identify students in PowerSchool. But the power of the stored search is being able to save that search based on those criteria and always dynamically pull up that group of students based upon the chosen field values that you've entered. One thing to know about stored searches is that those are public. And what I mean is once you create them, they can be used by any user in the admin portal, which I think is an advantage. I think it's great. The downside, the disadvantage is they can also be edited or deleted by anyone else in the admin portal. So you just have to be careful with that and communicate among your team members. I doubt there are many users going in and deleting these stored searches or anything like that, or even changing them. But just keep that in mind that if you, I think unless it's a lack of understanding, but just to know if you delete a stored search or you change it, it deletes it or changes it for all users. It's not specific to your account. So I think that's one of the most important things to know here. Something I didn't touch on and I really did want to, so I'm going to take a step back for a moment. Before I click into stored searches, I do want to show you in our documentation that there is a step sheet for what we're going through today that may be beneficial to you as we go along. But definitely after this training, you'll want to refer back to it. So as you all know on this call, when I go up to our question mark, the PowerSchool help menu, and click into meta documentation, I can find any of our documents based on any of these search criteria, but I'm just going to go ahead and type exactly what it is. So we're looking for stored searches and stored selections. And I would click on that to download it. You are welcome to do so right now if you'd like. And what you'll get is this very document with a step sheet and some examples, some examples that we'll actually be using this morning on this PowerHour call. So you'll have all that available to you. And I think this is a pretty useful little quick step sheet. I think it's just a 2-pager here, if I'm not mistaken. So, yep. All right. So I'm going to minimize that. We're going to close out of this documentation. Any questions about what we're doing or regarding where to find that document or anything else before we move into it?
Nothing in the chat.
All right. Well,
I'm
if there's not,
gonna put up a poll question because you paused.
okay. Oh, good
I
one.
just
I
want to
like
know
that.
how people heard about today's training. So if you don't mind, please go ahead and answer our next poll question.
Yeah, and questions like this are really helpful to us because we were just chatting as a team before we started the meeting about how we can better communicate out to our users what trainings are available, which trainings are available, and we'll be advertising these at the district leader meeting on Thursday. But when there's not an immediate district leader meeting that month, it's helpful for us to know how you find out about these trainings or and give us, feedback as much as you want about how we can do better in communicating these opportunities out to you and your users. So we appreciate it if you can answer that question. Okay, so you're getting
Yeah, did you read
emails.
that? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, one of our users said on the call said they're getting emails because they signed up for a training in the past, and so maybe some reminders or hey, this is what's upcoming. Okay, I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Another response is they check the Meta events calendar.
Perfect. And I understand that's not the easiest thing to do all the time, right? You can't go out there every day and look at the calendar. So it's nice when you have some reminders. All right. Well, let's jump in. So stored searches. I'm going to click into here. Um, I am curious though, and this is probably not a poll we thought to create, but just a real simple question. Who's used stored searches before on this call? I know I did when I was in a district. This is something that I relied upon. And again, I'm in a training environment, so I've populated some of these myself, but then I've also pulled them from other districts as well. So
Wow,
okay,
Jamie. Yeah, that's great.
first
You're
we've
going to get
heard
a
of it.
lot out of this then.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And Denise, yeah, it's a great
Okay,
tool.
all right. So one person has one stored search. One person first they've ever heard of it. All right, great. So yeah, it's this link that's been there always, as long as I've been using PowerSchool. But I feel like it's again underutilized and overlooked a lot. So these searches are in alphabetical order, as you can see, and what some of our users have done is put designations on them. And what I'm calling designations are, in my case, I use asterisks or any symbol that I could put in text to bring those to the top. Now I know that not every user can do that, right? Because if every user started doing that, then they'd all have asterisks or some kind of symbol. But it might be a way for you to identify your own. Another thing that we've suggested in the past, and I still will suggest, is maybe you put your initials at the front. So I put my initials on this one that I created a while back. And now I know that that one's mine. So if I just come down to the SP, which, may not be as convenient because it just puts it within all the S's, but if I come down to the SP within the alphabet, I can see where my search or my searches are. But again, if you have some that are commonly used on your team, maybe you put some asterisk or some other designation to bring those right to the top for you. So these are maybe some most common ones. Or in my case, these are the ones that I wanted to show you as examples. So thought it'd be easier just to have them right here at the top. Numbers will come before letters. So if mine starts with 1 or 5 or something like that, without the asterisks even, it would be at the top of this list. So these searches can be run anytime that you're in PowerSchool. They can be run from the district office level. They can be run from the school building level. And they can be edited anytime, as I've mentioned before. So I'm going to, momentarily, I'm going to click into one of these and I'm going to show you how simple it is to edit it. But again, it's also simple to edit someone else's search. So you just want to be careful on that. If you have some in there that are already working well, you may not want to edit it or maybe just create your own if you want to modify something. It's very easy to create them. As you can see, you can very quickly get a very long list. In this particular environment, it looks like the counselors were using this a lot. to just grab students maybe within a certain range of the alphabet or grade levels. And so there's a lot that say counselor on them. This may not be as common. Um, Maybe they would just use their name, but maybe they wanted to have the word counselor so they could identify, okay, just go to the C's and I can see all the counselor specific ones, something like that. So again, however you want to set up this system, and you may set it up, your search is up differently than the person next to you working at the next desk over. So, but let's go ahead and build one. So I'm going to click on new here, and you're welcome to do the same in your environment. So we're just going to build one out as an example, and then we're going to look at the results of that one. But then we're going to come back to the screen and look at the different ones that I've already created. So I'm just going to click on new. So once again, I want you to think about these stored searches as the searches that you do in PowerSchool, whether you look at all students in a grade level or all males within a certain grade level or males on an IEP within a certain grade level. That can all be accounted for within a single search, stored search here. So the first one we can use, the first one that I'll use, and it's completely up to you whether you want to do something different, but just as my example, I'm going to say ninth grade football players. So it's football season, right? It's the fall, and I want a list of all freshmen who are playing football on the varsity team. Now, in order to do that, I'd have to include a couple of searches. So one would be grade level because I'm saying specifically ninth grade. With these fields, there are fields that I just know off the top of my head, and there are fields that I don't know that I have to look up. Grade underscore level is one that I happen to use a lot, so I just know that one. A newer user may not realize that it's grade underscore level. Maybe they would think it's grade level or just grade. But again, being in PowerSchool for over 10 years, I know that it's grade underscore level. The good news is there is a field search right over here. So if you don't know the field you're looking for, just like from the start page when you're doing searches, you can utilize this search of fields right here, which I'm going to do for the next one because I don't have my other field memorized, and that is how I find out who's playing football. Also, I can handle multiple searches within my stored search one of two ways. I can do a semicolon and then put my next one in, or, and I kind of like this better because it looks more organized. I can, when I come back to the search, I can see what's in it. I can just basically enter down, and on a second line, now I can have my second search. So I'm going to leave my cursor there and utilize this search because I'm not sure how to identify students who play football. So I type in the word football, and we do have these activities set up. Now, if you're doing this in your district, just note that this is all pending on whether you have students identified via activities for this particular search to work. Some of our buildings utilize these activities designations and some don't. In this training environment, we have set that up. So I'm gonna, again, my initial goal was to pull up freshmen who play on the varsity football team, but I would also have to have had the students I want to find designated as that ahead of times, and I'll show you where that's done. So I'm going to say varsity football, grade level 9. Every single one of these search, any search that you do in PowerSchool from the start page or over here has to have three parts. It has to have a field, a student field, a search parameter, that's my equals, and it has to have a field value. So student field, parameter, field value. Grade level equals 9. Activity sport, I'll just summarize that with those two words, and that is blank.
Jamie had a
Or
question in the
I'm sorry,
chat,
does not
Stephen.
equal blank. Program codes are not searchable by fields as far as I know. I would be I'd be curious and interested to learn if that's, if there's a way to do that, is to pull program codes on a student field value, but I'm not aware of one. But yeah, I think that's a great question. That's something that would be useful. Now, if I was looking for students in a particular program, I would go to the program codes page and pull up the students that way. And I can show you how I would do that. But if there's a way to do it here, I'd be interested to learn. So I want to make sure I'm clear because I misspoke for a second there. Um, this is the does not equal symbol. You might call it a hashtag, you might call it a pound sign. My generation probably called it a pound sign, whereas a younger generation calls it a hashtag. Um, but that symbol there in PowerSchool means does not equal. And anytime you do a search with a field and it does not equal, if you simply just leave it blank, it means does not equal blank. This is one that throws people sometimes.
Mhm.
Field does not equal blank means that there is something there. There is a value. That's all that means. So that's kind of a hard one. I can go through more examples if you like of that one. That is something we do a little bit of in PowerSchool 101, but it's also an easy one to miss, an easy point to miss here. So we like to review this one. But yeah, I'm using the does not equal blank, excuse me, because I want all ninth graders who are designated as varsity football. So I'm going to submit this to save. I have my I'm calling it ninth football. Grade level equals 9. Any student who is on the varsity football team in ninth grade. And now it's added to my list. Again, because it's a number, it brought it to the top. That's why I kind of like ninth better than freshman as a designation. And now I simply slide over here and just run my search. And these are the 8, excuse me. These are the 8 students that are freshmen that are on the varsity football team. And it's as simple as that. But again, the advantage is I've logged out of PowerSchool. I'm done for the day. I come back in the morning and I need those same students again. I go to my stored searches. Where are those varsity ninth grade football players? Run my search. There's my 8 students again. So the huge advantage is here, I don't have to do all that here in the search every single time. If it's something I'm going to use more than once, as a rule, I say make a stored search. As far as I know, you can have unlimited stored searches. I haven't really tested that theory, but you can see there's about 50 on here. So you're probably good to create some and have your team members create some because there's a lot of room here. The only downside is just the length of this list. But if you don't mind, searching, so I could do a control F. Where are those football ones? You can see I've actually used that same example before. Where's my special ed ones? It looks like I have 13 different special ed ones. Where are the ones that are designated with my initials? Well, SPED is kind of getting in the way of my search here. I'm just looking for my SPs, but I can see there that those are the ones that I created because I gave it SP. Or again, if I'm doing the designation of asterisks for my own, you could technically do it that way too. Oh, there's all mine. There's all the ones that I created in the past week. So um, in order to see what the search consists of, you click on the name. In order to run the actual search, you'll click on the run search. So let's see how we've set up this 504 group of kids. So I'm going to click on 504 students. And this is the case where it's going to be very helpful to learn what your field values are. Some of the field values are ones or zeros. Some of them are true or false. Some of them are number values, and then some of them are Y or N for yes or no. In the case of the state, so those of you who are EMIS coordinators, I know we have at least maybe one on the call, you may know that the Section 504 designation on a student is a Y or N value, but most of us wouldn't know that off the top of our heads, right? So in that case, you may have to ask somebody, you may have to play around with this, and you can always put in a case if you're unsure. and we can help you find that information. This particular piece of information is found on the state screens per student. And so, again, if we're looking on student screens, you can find most of this information on those student screens, but you might have to dig a little bit to find that. Again, I just happen to know that it's a Y or N for 504 students. So because I have the field, the parameter, and the field value, that should work for me. And I'm going to run that search and see if I get any results. So I have over 200 students in my building, and I think there's 1,400 students in Meta High School in this fake environment, and there's over 200 students identified with a 504 plan. But again, a good search. Now, what if I wanted to add to that? What if I wanted to, 504 students, but maybe ninth graders? It would be very easy to plug in. Again, if this is something I'm going to be looking for a lot, I could plug that in easily. Or I could also say, all right, what about just my upperclassmen? Grade level greater than 10 would get me my 11th and 12th graders. So just some ideas, just some simple ideas regarding grade levels. That's always my go-to when I'm thinking of examples here. But it could be a lot of different field values, and we'll use some other ones as well. Any questions so far from things that you're seeing on here? And we're going to go through some more examples.
Yeah, feel free to unmute if it's easier.
I'm not going to save that one. I'm just going to leave it as is.
I think we're good.
Right. Another one we have here is excluded from state reporting. So there is a student field, there's a checkbox to say that this student is excluded from state reporting. And again, it's, that's where you'd need to have an idea of or you'd need to actually know for sure the field value, the correct field value, and the field values for that are true or false. So this list of stored searches, again, if you wanted access to our training environment, might be good just for reference to get a list of all these different ways, all these different examples of ways that you can search students and save those searches. So because I have this set to true, when I do this search here, any student who's excluded from state reporting would come up. Now, I don't know if I have any in my training environment. We're about to find out. It looks like I do. I have 36 students that are designated as excluded from state reporting. And that's a funny name, so I'm just going to click that one. I'm going to click in there. I'm going to go to the Ohio State reporting screens. And this checkbox here is, I'm in a past school year. I just realized. Let me flip that over. This checkbox here is what's saying that student, so Honey, is excluded from state reporting. And that's where that information is coming from. But again, a helpful search to do and to have saved. You may have very few, or you may have a lot, but either way, it's going to get you, that stored search is now going to get me any students who are excluded from state reporting. I think that could be pretty useful for you. Let's look at some other different types of searches here. So I'm going to use the example, and we saw some of them are designated as SPED down here. I like to refer to it as IEP. You can use whatever designation that you want. So I'm going to click on IEP 12th grade males. I try to keep the names simple for myself. 12th definitely implies 12th grade, 9th implies 9th grade. So I don't really feel like the word grade is helpful here. So I just keep it simple. IEP 12th males. Okay, we know what that means. So I'm going to click into here. And again, we see some very familiar field values here, grade level and gender. Those are easy ones. Again, if you're not an EMIS coordinator, this is something you may not be familiar with. The state fields are identified with I'll either begin with an OH or an S for Ohio State fields. And Something unique about the disability codes is that they're all numbers greater than 0. So the search I'm giving here is any student who has any number in the disability field is going to populate on this search. So disability is greater than 0 means they could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12. Any of those designations will populate. Those students will populate on this search because I'm saying anything greater than 0. Um, I could I don't think does not equal blank will work on this one because I think 0 might be the default value. I'm not certain on that one, though. Don't quote me on that one. But I do know that greater than 0 will populate students who have some kind of number designation in their disability field. And so that's why I created it this way. So again, I can, yeah, obviously I could delete the search if I wanted. I could change the name. I can edit the search parameters, or I can just click submit, or I can click back to stored searches if I'm not editing anything. So let's do it that way this time. So I want to see any students that are seniors, males on an IEP. I run that search. And there's 33 students out of, I don't know, maybe there's 400 students in my senior class. 33 of them are on IEPs in the senior class. And this particular environment happens to have disability status as one of the columns from the start page. I know that's not in everybody's environment, but that's just how this particular district that was scrambled set that up. So that's why you're seeing it over here. You wouldn't necessarily see this here. Just another example. I'm going to go through a couple more and then I'm going to pause for questions again. Another one I like is medical alerts. This is helpful if we're taking students on a field trip, or we, maybe the nurse just, I'll say, owns this search. That nurse created this search so that they can always look. Okay, just need a quick list of everybody that has a medical alert. So again, I used that medical alert does not equal blank. In other words, every student who has something in the medical alert field, any text, any number, anything at all, any value is going to populate in this search. So I'm going to go back to my stored searches. I'm going to run the search, and I have wow, that's a high number. 667 students out of 1,400 have a medical alert. Let's go find out where that information is stored. So Coral is our example. She's first in the alphabet, so I'll just pick her. And I'm going to go over to the student profile, and I'm going to go to oh, I probably
Help.
want health. Health, right? There, that makes
Yeah,
sense, right?
there
I'm going
you
to go to
go.
the health pages and go to emergency medical contacts, and that's where we're going to find out what her health or medical alert is. And there we have it. She has an allergy to planetary parsley, and it gives her reaction and her condition and any information that somebody in our district has entered there, any useful information that somebody has entered there is here. And the reason she's showing up on my list is because there's any value at all. Even if it just said, 2, which it wouldn't here, but any value at all is what that search means. So I said, show me any students who have any value in the medical alert field. And any student fields can be utilized similarly from the start page. I'm going to go ahead and leave it. I'm going to leave her alone there. I could do the same thing from the start page. I could say, just in general, medical. I thought it was medical alert. Maybe I'm alert medical. Had it backwards. And I can say, show me all students who are not blank for alert medical. And I'm getting the same students. So I just did the exact same search from the start page, but again, I am just saving myself a couple of steps here by saving it because that's something I might use a couple times a year. Let me show you two more here before we ask for questions, or maybe come up with some other examples as a group. Newer high school students. I like this one. So I can utilize the student field of district entry date. And the reason I might want to do this is maybe for testing purposes, or maybe I'm tracking maybe, I work in a large school, and I don't necessarily talk to every single new student every day, but maybe I just want to keep track of them. I want to know who my new students are. And again, these are not static groups of students. So it's only looking at this field value. So anybody whose district entry date was after January 1st of this calendar year, and that's a freshman, um, is going to populate here, or I'm sorry, freshman or higher. So newer high school students, right? So I specified grade 9 or above, so greater than or equal to, and I specified a date. Now I might want to update this for the new year. I might want to say, all right, show me any students who entered my district after uh, August 1st. Now, this search here is probably not going to work as well, to be honest, anymore at this point in the year. Um, or no, I think it will. I think it will actually. So any student who entered the district after August 1st would be a brand new student in your district. And then, of course, the grade level. So I won't have any data if I change that here, because this was refreshed probably before the school year started. So so I'm going to click on submit. We're going to leave that set to how we had it. And then I'm going to run for my new high school students. And I had 51 students that were new to the district that were 9th through 12th grade in the spring come into our building. So and then lastly on my list is I wanted to make sure that you all knew about, I'll just show you, asterisk searches. So there are these searches that you can do that we just simply call asterisk searches, pertaining to number of classes a student is enrolled in. So these are values that aren't static student fields, but information that could change given in the moment. So for example, my search is number of classes equals 0, so students who have no schedule is what I called it. But if right after I run this search, I schedule a student into a class, then he is no longer going to show up in this search, right? If I schedule him in 1 or 5 classes, he's not going to show up. But at the beginning of the year, we're probably a little bit past this point right now, but maybe in early August, once we're into the new school year in terms of PowerSchool, but we haven't maybe started classes yet, and I want to see which students yet don't have a schedule. So I'm going to run number of classes equals 0. And maybe there's some students who don't have a schedule. It looks like it's just my test students, so that's good news for me. Maybe I don't need them to have a schedule, obviously. But if you're coming up with 8, 9, or 35 students, then you may have some students to get scheduled before school starts in August. So that's a nice search to use. There are, I'll just give you some quick other examples of some asterisk searches. If from the start page or on the stored searches, I just plug in an asterisk, you're going to see a list of asterisk searches. And we do have a document in our documentation listing out what each one of these mean. Another one that I created in a stored search, but I can just utilize it right here, is a student who has no class in period 1, not enrolled in period equals 1, and any student who doesn't have a first period class on their schedule is going to populate here. And I do have a stored search for that as well, because I think that's a pretty useful one to have. That may be important to your attendance if they're not in a first period. I have 264 students that don't have a first period class. And there's probably something unique about these student schedules. Let's see, we'll go to course and programs. I'm going to say list schedule. And she's only in a lunch. And so that might be a red flag. Maybe there's a reason for that, but probably she needs to be in a schedule. So she didn't come up in my no classes because she's in a lunch, so technically in a class, but she did come up in my no first period. So those are also good searches to do. I'm going to pop back over to the screen. All right, I'm going to pause for any questions about stored searches before we move on. Does anybody have any questions about how to create a stored search, how to edit one, or what maybe anything that you saw so far means or need clarification?
Stephen, I do want to tell you that Jessica is with us in this meeting. She just cannot hear, or she can hear us. She just
Oh,
can't use her chat or
okay.
talk, yeah, or her mic. But I have her on an email, and she has no questions at this time.
Okay, great. Way to get creative on
Yeah, why
communication back. Thank you.
not?
Um,
I do have a little quick question. So I was
sure.
gonna try to do a stored search for any students like that have withdrawn for the year. And
Okay.
when I put in like I put in exit date and like just put in like before 7/31, but everybody came up. So I obviously did not do something right there. How would you set that one up?
That's a great question. And I think what we're seeing the results of, and this is what I started to allude to earlier, and then I stopped
Uh-huh.
myself.
Okay.
Because this does get a little confusing. So I'm going to
Yeah,
go to I'm just going to pick a random student and I'm going to go to her enrollment history. And there is a
the exit
field,
date there. Yeah.
yeah, every student is going to have an
Mm-hmm.
exit date. So that's a good question. What I would say is, what if you did an exit date after August 1st? Would that
Okay.
get you any students who withdrew after
That's a
the
good
start of the
idea.
school year or something?
You could also do exit date does not equal and put that date in.
Oh, that's
So
good.
then you would,
Oh, there you
yeah,
go.
then you would get, even though they have an exit date, it won't pick up those students.
I wonder, let's try that. So I want to play around with that. Recently withdrawn. And then I'm going to look up my fields to make sure I have it right. Exit date does not equal, right?
And
Maybe
then
an
do like
additional one.
greater than, yeah, exit date is greater than whatever the start of school was.
Yeah, but I guess I wouldn't have to do that, right?
I think you would have to do both.
Okay, try this. But these are good things to just toy around with and
Yeah.
see if we can get it to
Mhm.
work. See if we get anybody. Again, oh, I had that pulled up. Hold on, let me try this again. So I think I don't think I would have any results in that search here though.
Yeah, we might not
Being
have
that,
anybody.
yeah, nobody has been withdrawn since the end of last school year because this was just refreshed in early August. But I do wonder, Jamie, if let's see, exit
Okay.
date
So you put the exit date of like the last day of the like school
of
year,
this year.
basically. Of
Yeah. Let's see. So what we're saying is it's anything different than
and
528, which would
okay.
imply that it's anybody who withdrew sometime between the start of this school year and now.
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting any results on that?
So
Oops, that's not what I want to do.
um, so if I did an exit date with the hashtag of 7/1/2025 and do exit date again, but then do like today's
I
date.
I think
What's your
Well,
last day of school?
you could do, I mean, but this would change by the day, right? I could do
Mm-hmm.
exit date is prior to today, but that information would change then when you're running in a week or 2 or 3 weeks. So I would stick with the does not equal the last day of school, because any kid who's still
Okay.
here has an exit date by default of the last day of the school year. And I don't remember what that was. Was it 28 for mine? I don't know what your last day of school is this year.
Oh, for this school year. Oh, okay, I see. That's where I was getting confused. I was gonna say, I don't know how that's gonna work. Okay, I was thinking that like my last school year. Okay,
Yep. Yeah,
I
so
see
I'm
now.
gonna I'm gonna pick a kid, and on their enrollment history, their entry date every year is going to be the new start of
Mm-hmm.
the school year, and their exit date every year is going to be the last date of the school year. And so by saying any student, basically, um, that is in my system that doesn't have an exit date of 5, I don't know. And I think what we probably have to do
Mm.
is, I don't know if that'll work or not.
Probably do an entry date is greater than the first day of school and the exit date is less than the
Okay.
last day of school. Um, that might work as well. I put one in the search if you want to, or in the chat.
So entry date is greater than 8/1/2025.
Yeah, I don't know what is that the first day of school? That building? Well,
It's
I can
it's
look.
not. It's like yeah, it's August
Yeah, we
something.
want to put the first day because it's greater than or
Well,
equal to.
I guess I would want to use this like for kids who have like withdrawn over this, like everybody who's withdrawn over the
Okay.
stuff, I guess is what
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
want to use that for. So I
So
would do 7-1.
so I think what you may be looking for then is a district. Let's see. Is there a district exit date? Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong here.
No, I think I think it's just exit date, but
It's looking that way. Yeah, there may be a field that we could use, and it's not coming to me but I understand what you're getting at. It's someone who's left since last school year.
mm-hmm.
In the school enrollment, I don't think we'll get you that,
Okay.
because the way, let me write that one down and we can get back to you on that. That's a good one though.
Okay.
So how would I know which students withdrew since last year? So district withdrawal, basically.
Is there a district exit date field?
That's what I was wondering. I don't see one though, but it's
Okay.
got to be noted somewhere on the student record. I just don't know off the top of my head where that's located.
Withdrawal reason?
Yeah, so would I almost asked that a moment ago. Would
Yeah, because you gotta withdraw. I mean, you gotta pick a code for you'd have to pick one for,
so
a
does not
code for
equal blank?
somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And I also don't know, to be honest, if it's gonna pick up inactive students. And I think that's probably gonna be our
Uh,
challenge.
okay.
Yeah, now I'd like to say that maybe if I put in a backslash, just like we do but I don't know that for a fact.
Okay. I just know my
Oh,
secretary
I am getting,
when they're not here, like they're
mhm.
always like who withdrew, and it's sometimes it's like, I don't remember everybody that I withdrawn or, have new ones that have come in. So sometimes that could be a perfect reason to use this.
So I did get results, but again, being in a fake environment here, I don't know
Okay.
which kids I'm getting, but I did a backslash withdrawal reason code does not equal blank, and I did get 2 kids.
Okay.
So maybe try that and see if you're getting who you would expect to get.
All right, what did you have after reason code? What was that? I'm sorry, Ed.
The hashtag or pound symbol.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as in does not equal, and then I just left it
Okay.
blank. I don't know if that's gonna, yeah, I'm not confident that that's gonna be the one. But it may be a step in the right direction.
Okay.
But I would say if you want inactives to pull up, put a backslash in there. So I don't think, again, I'm gonna get any results because
Yeah.
of my scrambled data that hasn't been refreshed lately. But if I say they have a withdrawal reason code, but they also had an entry date after August 1st, I don't think I'm going to get anybody in this environment. But okay, entry, no, that doesn't work though. I didn't like that.
Well, it didn't like that on my end.
Yeah. But I am getting
Okay.
results on a
Oh,
withdrawal code, but I'm going to make a note of that. So district withdrawal since last year,
Mm-hmm.
how to find it. We'll find out and we'll get
All
back
right.
to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking the question.
Yeah.
Any other questions about stored searches? Admittedly, that took a little bit longer than I expected just to go through that, but I had all these examples I wanted to share with you. I'm hopeful that was helpful for you. But I did want to cover stored selections as well, and I don't really want to glaze over it, so I'm going to take some time now to talk about stored selections. So basically, stored searches are again based on static student fields. So the field values upon a student, whereas stored selections are different because now we're talking about static groups of students. So specific kids that whether they change grade levels or disability status or, have a medical alert or not, any of the fields that we gave as examples, um, regardless, these are students that you have in a selection by default. So I'm going to give you an example of creating a stored selection that I might have used when I was in a district. So I have some students in mind in my example, and they're seniors. And I'm going to go ahead and just select all seniors. I'm going to select by hand. And so you're welcome in your environment to just make any selection of kids that you want for this example. But I'm going to say that these are the students that are potential valedictorians. And again, that kind of information would change year to year. These kids won't be in my building next year. They will graduate and move on. And they won't be in my building. So this information is only going to be relevant from now until May. So the other thing to know about stored selections, it's more of like temporary groups of kids because as new students enroll, maybe I'll have a new potential valedictorian later this year that I need to add to this list. And as students withdraw, if a student who is a potential valedictorian in my example withdraws before, December, maybe they graduate early and they're not, on the list to be the spring valedictorian anymore. This list won't change because I'm just storing a group of kids' names. So think about stored searches are a group of kids based on searches. Stored selections are a static group of students, just whatever students I tell the system. So I'm going to update my selection. I have my 10 students that are potential valedictorians this year. And that's also the difference in how I get these selections. So I first have to get my group of kids. Notice before I even go into the menu. When I click into stored selections here, I can now give them a name. They are potential valedictorians. I can save the current selection with a new name. All right, that's going to be the default on here every time I come to this screen. You can see that I've created some other ones, and I'll talk through my examples here. But these are my potential valedictorians. I have 10 kids in my selection, 10 seniors. Save the current selection with a new name, and I submit. And now I have my potential valedictorians, 10 students. And as you know from my start page, I currently have those 10 kids in my selection. But if I didn't, so I'm going to go ahead and remove them from my selection for the example here. All right, so I come into work in the morning, and I need to look at those potential 10 valedictorians. I kind of know who they are. I don't always remember all their names. I don't want to have to search them every time. So I can come to this screen and I can simply hit select. Now again, static group of kids. So Data and Cherry and Moonshadow, they'll always be on this list until I modify this list or remove them from the list or anything, like that, delete the list. So they'll just be on that list. So when the school year rolls over and it's August 2026, 11 months from now, this list will no longer be relevant because these are students who are no longer in my building in August 2026. They've all now graduated. But it's very good for the time that I need it. Couple of things. If I want to edit the name, I can edit the name. All right, maybe I want to just pull those to the top, so I put a number in front of it. Probably good to designate the year. Another thing I can do is I can make this public. So a difference between stored selections versus stored searches is that these are not public by default. Published means public. So my advisory group of students, I have 20 students that I meet with once a month, check in on them, and see how they're doing. Those are public, so everybody that has, that has an admin portal login can see advisory group. Therefore, I might want to change this. So I might want to say Parts advisory group, right? So that's my advisory group. If it's a public list, I probably want to give it a designation so people know whose advisory group that is. All right. But also I want the principal and the secretaries and the counselors and everybody that works in the office to know, athletic director even, I want them all to know who the potential valedictorians are. Again, this is only shared within the admin portal. This is not public portal. This is not teacher portal. But I am going to publish it so that all my coworkers can see that who work in the admin portal. I simply click publish. I select that and I submit. And P means it's published or it's public now. So now any admin user can go into Train 01, log into Train 01, and they can see the valedictorian potentials and my advisory group. I have a couple other ones on here. So I said, here's 8 students who have perfect attendance so far. And, I have a way I can go look at that. So basically kids with 0 attendance, absences or tardies. And I'm calling that my perfect attendance list so far. And that number may change. So I may be eventually deleting that and just making a new list, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. Q1 honor roll. These 16 students were on the honor roll. I'm sure our buildings have more than 16 students on the honor roll for a quarter, but just in my example, I had these 16 students that were on the Q1 honor roll, and I have a search I can do for that to find them. Again, those aren't static student fields. That's a academic search, and in fact, a little plug here. We will have a future PowerHour on how to search student GPAs, how to search student grades per quarter or per year, both in historical and in the grade book. So that's coming. But that's how I would have found information like that. Okay, let's talk through some of these other things here. One thing I do want to mention though, so what am I going to do with this information now? I have my valedictorian potentials, for example. So I have my 10 students. Now I can do any of the things I could do from the group actions menu with that group of students, just like when I search a group from here. But again, I'm just pulling them up much easier and more quickly by doing this way. So I have my 10 students that I might look at this list every week, depending on my job in the school. And I need to track these students. So I may be searching by their GPA. It might be searching by grades to make sure that they're on track and that sort of thing. And again, this is the subject of a future Power Hour here, is what, the power of these two searches here. I might simply be making a custom student list. So here's my valedictorian contact information. I already have these populated from the last time I entered this information, their name, their student number, their grade level, and some contact information for their #1 contact. And so most of them have the information I need, and I can export that into a CSV or a PDF that I need to use. So again, just like searching any group of kids and then taking action with any group of kids, there's this whole actions menu that you can utilize. But again, just a quicker way to get you to the stored selection. So another thing I want to show you is what these next few mean. So the next function, add records that belong to any of the checked selections to the current selection. So let's say that, let's see, I'm going to, let's say that I have my kind of top academic juniors here. And I'm going to go ahead and update them for the purpose of time. I just have 5 of them. And then I'm going to go to my stored selections. And then I want to add records that belong to any of the checked selections to my current selection. So I have my top academic 5 juniors, but I also want to grab my valedictorian potentials and add them to my selections. So watch that number there. And now I have my 5 top academic juniors and my top 10 academic seniors all in the same selection. So I don't need to do anything else on the screen with those kids. What I do want to do is go back to here and okay, now I have my top academic juniors and seniors. Now, if I did want to store that as a group, I could simply say top academic 11th and 12th graders. Now, again, I'm calling it this, but this is only going to be relevant. This title is only going to be relevant until graduation this year, but I could actually call it that. So now I have my juniors and seniors who are at the top of their class. All right, let's talk through filtering. I'm going to go back to the start page, and I am going to, I should probably go back over here. Filter records in current selection by records that belong to every checked section. So what this means is the group of kids that I search from the start page list any kids who are in all of the checked selections. And so my example will be, I'm going to grab all students in the building. Just all students are in my selection right now. Go to stored selection. But I only want this narrowed down to the kids who are on my perfect attendance list and my Q1 honor roll right now. So I need only the students in the building that are in both. Oh, I did not mean to do that. I just saved them as a selection. Okay. So what I meant to do was checkbox filter. Looks like this might hang up. Okay, try that again. So 1,600 students, only the kids that are perfect attendance and Q1 honor roll is what I want to see right now in my selection. 19 students have perfect attendance so far this year, are in Q1 honor roll. And again, these are static student groups that I've already designated. So in total, there were maybe 24 of them, 8 plus 16, but 19 of them are on both lists. Any questions about that one? That one, these next few are a little more confusing than the simply saving or deleting or publishing. That's why I always do those ones first. Any questions about filtering down to students in every one of the groups?
Nothing in the chat.
All right. All right, furthermore, so just a couple of examples. Maybe I have all of my 10th graders selected in my selection, kind of like I did with the whole school a moment ago. And I only want kids that are in 10th grade that are in the honor roll group that are also the perfect attendance group. So you might want only my sophomores. Maybe you have a particular activity or event or award for your 10th graders who have kept perfect attendance and have been in the honor roll so far, and you have those in groups. So that's just another example of a way I could use that filter. How about the create a new selection based on records that belong to any of the checked selections? So what I can do once again is I could do in this example, I'm going to go ahead and do a grade level. And I've realized in some of these trainings that some don't know this exists, but this is an option. This is a great way to get multiple grade levels of students, by the way. There are other ways, but I like this way. So I changed this drop down to grade level. I say I want all my juniors and seniors. Search. I have 800 students now, juniors and seniors only. I go to my stored selection. This function is used to combine current multiple stored selections into a new single selection. So my juniors and seniors who are, again, create a new selection based on records that belong to any of the checked selections. So I want to know my valedictorians, my top academics, my quarter one honor roll, my perfect attendance. Get me a kid who's on any of those lists and make that my selection. 32 students are among those groups. Now I can say, again, I could call it top academic or, award assembly or something like that. So just another way to get kids in a selection. This one is create a new selection based on records that belong to every selection. So different from this one, any of or every one of them. So this one would be where I would create a group of kids that was in every one of my checked selections down here. So it's a little confusing. I do want to once again point out that this here will define each of those. So the document that we've created is going to define each one of these for you. So a nice quick list for you to define. It's basically, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a copy and paste from this page. It's in slightly different terms, but I think it'll be more clear to read it off of here. Personally, that's how I found it anyway. So. All right. And again, the last two functions, I can delete a selection. So let's say that, well, I didn't really need that anymore. Or again, it's August 2026. These are no longer relevant. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all checked selections. I no longer, it's fall of 2026 now, thinking in the future. I don't need my 2026 valedictorian potentials. I don't need my top academic 11 to 12 because I need to make my new list this year. I'm deleting them and submit, and they're gone. So these two functions with similar names are very, very powerful for our everyday jobs. And again, I'll say it a third time, I just think they're so underutilized. So I definitely want to get this information out there. Yeah, to make sure that you all knew what the power of those are. Again, think of the stored selections as static student values. Think of the stored selection, the searches. The stored selections are static groups of students, and that's all in the document that we've provided too. Obviously you always want to double check your lists, especially when it comes to stored selections. Make sure it's not an out-of-date list. Especially when it's things like a valedictorian or an award or a scholarship, but best to keep those up to date, of course. But hopefully you've all picked up something from this training. And I want to, again, open it up for questions. So does anybody have any questions while we're here about either of the functions we reviewed today?
Prior to the questions or before the questions, I did go into Jamie's district and test those searches we were talking about earlier,
Mhm.
and they do work. So I'm going to put that in the chat. You could start
Thank you.
with the date of July 1st. So I'm going to just add that to the chat if you guys want to copy and paste it, but you just use your own dates in there and that should work for you to see those summer withdrawals.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna copy and paste that too. I'm taking it. Put it in my little post-it notes over here.
In your
My
little
sticky
Post-it
notes.
notes. There you go.